let's start with an origin story. So how did you start developing games, and what games do you like to play that kind of made it so that you would want to develop games?
Well, both of us we were already dating at the time. And we were sort of at a crossroads in both of our careers at the same time, and just got to talking about, what if we just made a video game? Let's see if that works out, because I was already a graphic novelist before, so I had a lot of experience with graphic novels and had, of course, been curious about visual novels and what it would be like to kind of transfer my skills to that sort of thing. And it was a fun experiment, and it turned out to work really well, and we really enjoyed working together.
Yeah, what she said.
Okay, great. So you have Scarlet Hollow and Slay the Princess.
Yep.
Where did you start with wanting to make these two games?
Well, we started with Scarlet Hollow. We love episodic mystery games. Like, Tony was really big into the Telltales when those were coming out.
I really enjoyed lurking on the Life is Strange subreddit when that was still releasing episodically and reading other people's theories. So thought it would be neat to make something that sort of followed a similar episodic mystery format and see if we could build a community around it.
Yeah.
And of course, it also made sense because it meant that we could release episodes kind of as they were finished, bug test them with the community, and kind of just get attention slowly from that. But then we started work on Slay the Princess because I was away on a trip and Tony was alone for too long, and then just the gears started turning.
So that was kind of unexpected. You just kind of like had to balance both, and now you currently have this as your push.
It was the right decision at the time.
It was especially, Tony was spending a lot of, sorry, I'm speaking for you.
That's it.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, fine. Yeah, like, I was spending a lot of my time doing really frustratingly ineffective marketing work for Scarlet Hollow, of just like, you can only squeeze so many visual novel sales out of tweets. So, kind of when Abby was traveling, it felt like, oh, I wonder if a better course of action, a better way to like market Scarlet Hollow would just be to make a smaller, more streamlined game in the meantime. Because we also knew from our work on that one that like once people started playing Scarlet Hollow, they really liked it and they told their friends to play it, but like the growth wasn't there to sustain us through finishing all 7 episodes. So we figured, well, if we just make something equally as tight and that people like just as much, that'll be the important step for getting people through the door.
So a lot of Slay the Princess was designed around kind of limiting the time that we had to spend on it while maximizing kind of how good it was. So kind of seeing where we could limit what we were working on. So instead of doing giant 18 by 24 fully inked backgrounds and giant sprites that were all fully inked as well, it was all reduced paper, all pencils, which is only the first step of art. And one character, at least that was our initial idea, one character in the background. And then of course that changed a little bit. But it was so much fun.
To be fair, we also understood after we released the first demo and announced the game that like there was a viral quality to Slay the Princess.
Yeah.
So we could suddenly justify putting more labor into it because we were pretty sure we could still keep the dev cycle short, which we did. It wound up being about 7 months of full-time work, and that people would enthusiastically buy it when we were done.
And you guys took the gamble and won.
Yeah.
I think so. A lot of this is a lot more in depth in his Medium posts. There's a couple that really go into the nuts and bolts of what occurred between
It's always
these releases.
wild to meet people who read those posts. In
I
real
had to
life.
do a little bit of homework for this. I was like, if I'm going to talk to you guys, I want to know what's going on.
I always feel like I send those out into the void.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
Every time I show, someone's like, I read this post.
I'm just the one person today.
Like I've been seized.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I understand that. How did it feel for it to actually take off?
You might be surprised, but it felt good.
I should think so. But like, there's that tension of, okay, is this going to work? And then the relief.
Yeah, and I mean like, even after the success of the first demo and then the success of the second demo at PAX, like, there was still the lingering question before the game released of like, well, is the whole thing going to work?
Yeah.
Are people going to like the narrative structure we put together? Are people going to like some of the bolder decisions? Are they going to bounce because of how esoteric some of it gets
Yeah,
towards
yeah.
the end.
Is it not going to be what they thought the game was going to be? Because of course it's hard for us to know what they're expecting out of it.
Yeah.
We know what it's going to be, but they don't necessarily see the same vision.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like that was a pretty pleasant surprise. I know
Yay.
we had like our patrons play an early
Correct,
build
yeah.
of like a week before launch, and then they really liked it, which was great.
So you had that low barometer at least to be like, okay, people, you wide release.
Yeah.
Hopefully it takes off. Yeah.
Seeing
And
the first few comments roll in like that night,
Yeah.
people saying, "Oh my God, what
Uh.
have you done?" Like, oh my God, did it work?
And then we also had a fun thing where like we had some issues with like the final steps of certification on
Oh,
Steam,
that
so
is-
we had to delay our launch
Yeah.
by a few days. But like review codes had already gone out. There
And
was
you're
already
like,
an embargo. So it's like we also knew before it launched that like, oh, we're getting mostly like 9s and 9.5s and 10s.
good.
So like
There's a little.
All
There,
right,
there are
there's-
those indicators
there's
that you
some
can be.
juice. There's some indicators. Yeah.
So I cannot draw a stick figure. How did you get all this artwork done and so much of it? And I know you had to reduce the scope, but I mean, there's still
That is wholly
like
an
it's
happy
it's
question.
like detailed while still being like you can absorb it while you're watching.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I trained for many years as a comic artist,
Okay.
which makes you work really, really fast.
I see.
Yeah, so I finished a lot of comic work and kind of just trained myself to get really fast, to not second guess myself. And yeah, it serves me very well. It helps that pencils mean I only have to do one pass, though it was definitely an
Oh,
adjustment because it also means that if I mess up, it's going to be a lot more obvious because the eraser marks are going to be really clear. So yeah, that's it. I just did it. And also, of course, the deadlines were very hard on me.
Oh
But
goodness.
that's always how it is.
Yeah.
There's no escaping it because work will just expand to fill the space you give it.
There's two questions that we often get during interviews that always have like this slight uncomfortable, we know this isn't helpful answer. One of them is, how do you do all of that art so quickly? And the other is, how do you keep track of all of the branching choices? And it's like the only answer we have to give to either of those questions is like, I don't know, we do it, we practiced a lot. I always like to say for the branching, it's got to come from the days I was like really invested in like the Mass Effect fandom and keeping track of like all the things that can happen in every quest in those games.
Yes,
and
just like, okay,
my brain
follow.
got wired like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, those are.
There's no tricks. I
Yeah,
think, is the
exactly.
thing.
And for me,
But
I
yeah.
think it was phylogenetic trees. That helped a lot. Learning phylogeny was so helpful. You just
Oh,
have to
yeah.
memorize the relationships between all of these different animals and put them in a big tree. I
Yeah.
could draw you a tree of Animalia and without any textbooks, no problem.
Tracing.
That's how I keep track of Scarlet Hollow.
Now you've partnered with Serenity Forge
Yes.
to expand this game. How did you decide that you wanted more?
So the Pristine Cut was something we were already working on.
Yeah.
But the consoles and languages are something that Serenity Forge is helping us big time with, as well as merch.
That's
It's
exciting.
So nice. They have a whole art team. It's wonderful.
Oh,
Like
wow.
the consoles in particular, like we're out of our depths for
Yeah.
porting, especially because our engine like does not port easy to consoles.
Mm.
But yeah, so it's like for the Pristine Cut itself, the game was such a scramble to make from start to finish that we didn't really have a whole lot of time to breathe and like put it down and think about what
Yeah,
we were making. Like
yeah.
the whole process, we were of course thinking about what we were making, but
Yeah.
like never with any distance. So
There
we,
were a few
yeah.
holes, honestly, that we could kind of see
Exactly.
once it was finally
Yeah.
done. Of just there were 3 princesses, damsel, prisoner, and specter, who did not have their own unique chapter 3s, like a lot
yeah.
of the other ones do. And then also Fury, Apotheosis, and Den were shorter chapters, but the princess just felt like she had more to her.
Yeah. Did you put this in my face when I said yeah? No, I'm
Like, yeah,
I
got-
don't know.
got-
What
got-
else
not
do
more-
I have to
not more
say?
for that.
No, I mean that's pretty much it. Like, and I wouldn't necessarily call those things holes so much as like we had different thoughts in the beginning, and then we realized there were better directions we could take those chapters given time.
Yeah. It didn't have the time, so
Yeah.
we get more.
Yeah.
Fans get more. It's awesome.
But now we're done. For real.
Yeah, yeah.
We're really done.
I'm so tired.
You had mentioned burnout in your post. Once you put this down, how did you spend your time getting back filled up?
I write fan fiction.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
You don't remember anymore.
Like, I think
you-
it's like the burnout, because I'm the person who does the code, which means that when we release something, my next like 2 to 3 weeks are
bug
bug
fixing.
fixes.
Yep.
Um,
So you got
like,
that coming up soon, probably.
Yeah, I like to think that having actual QA support from a publisher and just like being more comfortable with how everything was coded in Slay the Princess meant the pristine cut is going to be like, 0 bugs.
And it's been done already.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, we've almost never done something and then waited to release it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. So you've been kind of biting it a bit.
Yeah. So it's like by the time we release something, I'm always already burnt out, but then I have
Yeah.
to go into like
You have to
overdrive
go.
for a
Yeah.
couple weeks.
Yeah.
So like when I'm done, I'm like just on the couch. I'm maybe like playing Genshin Impact or something and disappearing into
Yeah.
a blur of, oh, here's a shiny thing I can
Yeah.
click on. Oh, here's a shiny thing I can click on.
Yeah,
And then
just
like
sort
2
of-
weeks are gone.
Dredge and Dave the Diver for me last year especially. That was great.
Having-
I like the games where I can get the fish.
Yeah. So for this is a free update.
Yeah.
How do you decide on that, or it just made possible by you're going to be selling new stuff through it?
The game made enough money.
Yeah. And
So we
horse.
can, yeah, like
Great.
we can just look at this as, well, it'll sell more for consoles,
Yeah.
it'll sell more in foreign languages. Like, merch is nice, but honestly, at the end of the day, merch is a very supplemental
Yeah.
thing compared to just selling the game. And it's like, the game is selling well,
And of
why not
course,
be generous?
At the end of the day, I want people to play the best version of the game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
I know that this is the best version of the game.
That's
Right,
that's
like
really
it's-
awesome.
We released this big patch earlier this year that like redid and fleshed out a lot of the stuff in the ending of the game, and like including like adding animations, and that's part of the pristine cut. But like the fact that this section of the game that like everybody is going to see when they finish it had a much better, more polished version just sitting around there. We couldn't
Yeah,
stand just
yeah.
sitting on that. So it's
I
like, all
see,
right,
I see,
we're-
yeah.
we're splitting this off. We're making it like a separate patch, and we're pushing it early because, like, I don't know. There's like an embarrassment to knowing that somebody has a lesser version of something
Yeah.
that you worked on.
Yeah.
So that's the big motivation at the end of the day. Like, if people are engaging with our art, they need to engage with the best
That's-
correct version of it.
But that's a gift that you're able to do that.
Yeah,
So-
it's fortunate.
Yeah. You guys came from Gamescom, I believe.
Yes.
How,
Very jet-lagged.
yes, I was going to say. What makes it different? Why would you exhibit here? Or
I mean,
just
our
like
publisher's exhibiting at
they're
both of them.
they're like, okay,
It felt fun doing them. Gamescom felt fun as we get to do a business trip to Europe. We've
yeah,
never done that
exactly.
before.
Oh, okay, great.
And of course, PAX is just a very lovely show.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Have you been to PAX? What did you do at PAX previously for this or?
I have a long and storied history.
Oh,
with
okay.
Penny Arcade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
I've
yeah,
been to
20
PAX
years.
a lot, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah,
That's
this-
as
you-
well. I used to live in Seattle, so I
Oh, okay. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
vacation.
and then we did
Paid vacation.
the PAX
Working.
Rising showcase. for
Oh,
Slay the
yeah.
Princess at East last year.
okay. So, well, one more bump. Do you have more promo after this, or do you guys get to go home?
this is
We
it.
gotta go home.
Yay! but just
I'm
one.
sure there will be interviews at some point, but
Yeah.
those will be the kind that happen over email and maybe a Zoom call. I'm very tired of going places, even if I really enjoy my time.
Exactly. That's long. Yeah, that's a
Flights
lot.
are the thing that like really pushes it over
Yeah.
the edge.
Last question is from my friend. He's wondering if there's any chance or idea that there could be voice acting for Scarlet Hollow.
I would die. It would take years off my life. Like directing and implementing the voice acting for Slay the Princess probably was about half of the time I spent on development. And Scarlet Hollow is a significantly larger game. And like, I really liked working with our voice actors. They're very talented. Cutting voice lines from those files, editing the
yeah.
unfortunate mouth sounds that
But,
are measured when
uh-huh.
you're speaking next to a microphone, and I'm sure there's
We
plenty
have all of them
clicks
here.
and pops
I've
going
probably
into
been
this thing
yeah,
right
slapping
now.
this a lot.
It's like, it's excruciating because
Yeah.
it's like, it's the sort of work where you can't do anything. I can't even listen to music. I have to be
Oh,
like, fully
now-
focused,
now you-
listening to words, figuring out what's the best take.
it gives Tony the madness.
No.
Yeah.
It was so whenever it was audio editing time, it was just hell for you.
There's also a lot of things in Scarlet Hollow where like we take advantage of the lack of voice acting, where it's like depending
okay.
on your relationship with the character, like you might get the same line of dialogue but with a different sprite to convey a different tone. And figuring that out for a spreadsheet for a script that's currently longer than the entirety of The Lord of the Rings would just be like a logistical nightmare for two people.
And of course, there is the added thing of people already have kind of their headcanon.
Yeah, and then you disrupt that.
So whoever we cast, it wouldn't matter who they were, how good they were. People would be like, that's not my Stella.
Yeah.
Or, you know, maybe that's just cope from us.
Yeah, it's
They would love it, and
Allow that.
but yeah, no,
That's what I tell myself.
All right. Well, that's all I had. Thanks for all your success, and thanks for
Thank you so
taking
much
the
for talking
time.
to us.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking
Yeah.
to us.
You already know why you're here. You already know what you need to do. Yeah, if we don't slay the princess, the world ends. All of it. We know. Then why are you hesitating? What are you doing?
You don't have to be afraid. We can both get out of here. Together.
No, you can't do this. You're going to damn everyone if you set her free. I refuse to let her get the last word in.